time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right, good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock. It is time for episode 219 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, you okay over there, my friend? How are you doing tonight? You got a little cough, a little dry throat. What's happening? You need a break?
I think I've contracted the polio.
The polio? How did that happen?
It's so cold. I'm so cold, Ron. In all seriously, Ron, earlier this week, as you can see, I am broadcasting once again from corporate housing here on the Isle of Manhattan. Earlier this week, the New York City Department of Health was doing a random test of the wastewater coming out of my apartment building. As you can see on the screen right now, for those who are watching the video feed, polio was recently detected in New York City wastewater, a disease that we had eradicated decades ago due to a very safe, one of the safest vaccines. Everybody was saying that it's one of the greatest vaccines known to mankind was the polio vaccine. And earlier this week, it was tragic. I was sleeping in my bed. It was 4 a.m. in the morning. There was pounding on my door. That day, I happened to have set up my bedroom cot right outside of the entrance to my apartment. Woken up by the stormtroopers of the New York City Department of Health once again ordering me to immediately vacate my domicile. So I've been staying for the last couple days here on Manhattan Island, and I've been getting some chills.
Okay.
My legs feel a little stiff when I walk. I've taken to smoking cigarettes out of a cigarette holder and arguing that we're going to end the Great Depression and that I should run for a fifth term as the president of the United States of America. That, we may drop the bomb against the Russians. I don't know. Maybe we have it, maybe we don't.
There's nothing the kids respond more to than FDR references. So we, again, proving that we are in the zeitgeist of current events.
Ron, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing a little bit better than last week, but we will get into that shortly. But excited to do an episode this week. Lot happening in the news this past week, obviously, to get into. So let's just get rolling with Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the Week.
Pleasure.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
And kudos to Allie for noticing. Yes, I did fix my camera angle since last week, so hopefully you can admire. I even shaved today, which I don't often do on a Sunday, but looking good. So, Brian, what are you drinking this week? What did you bring to the table to overcome the side effects of your polio?
Listen, it's summer. It is time for fruity beers. And when I say fruity, we are talking this week from our friends over at Blue Point Brewing Company. We're talking about their Blueberry Ale, which I would describe before I take a sip. I'm just going to assume that it offers an unusual twist on brewing that turns out to be just perfect. I assume it's going to have a wonderful blend of fresh blueberries matched with a thirst-quenching distinctive ale. I think that they carefully add 132 pounds of blueberries to each special batch of their ale, brewed with 100% American ingredients, coming in at 4.5 ABV percentage. Blueberry ale, from Blue Point Brewing Company.
I do like a nice blueberry ale. Of course, our friends at Blue Point, also the ones that make the pinstripe pills that we enjoyed at Yankee Stadium. He's going back for a second sip right away, my friend. That usually is a good sign. Brian, how do you like it?
This is a crushable ale.
Okay.
Normally I look for pilsners to crush. I like lagers to crush. This is an ale, but I'm going to crush it. I predict that by the 36-minute mark of this episode, I will have gone back for another one.
All right. Well, that is high praise from you, sir. Very nice.
Ron?
Yes.
What are you drinking?
So this week I actually made a beer run today. It's been a while, but went out and decided to see what was new on the shelves of my local store and went with a brewery that has been featured here previously, our good friends at Workhorse Brewing Company from King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. This is a new session IPA that they have put out called Queen of Prussia. Again, this is a session IPA, but a low alcohol, only 5%. So a little lighter than normal IPAs, and even the body of it, it's got a nice light sheen to it. So let me take a sip here, see how it is.
Ooh, that's a pretty color.
Oh, that's good.
Now, I thought that we had agreed that for Hot Podcaster Summer...
You got to give me more heads up than that, my friend.
No.
Podcaster Summer.
You had said that this summer was all about crushable beers and we were not drinking IPAs anymore.
And normally I agree, but because it was a low alcohol IPA, and again, because it was from our good friends at Workhorse Brewing, they said, can you shout out the new session IPA? I said, sure enough, we'll get it on this week's show.
While you are taking another sip, that's how much we know that you like it. Do you understand what a session IPA is as opposed to just another type of IPA?
I don't. I believe it's just like it's a special brewing. It's not one that they do on a regular basis. So that is how I interpret that to be.
So session is like limited edition.
Yes, I think that would be a perfect explanation for it.
Okay.
Kudos to you, my friend.
No. Kudos to you, Ron.
All right. I will take your kudos and keep things moving along.
I'm assuming that William Esquire is currently typing out the definition of session.
I'm sure we will have that information from him shortly. But in the meantime, this
is the slowest turn. You can start the music. This is the slowest turnaround time I've ever seen. Here we go. Timeout. Come on, kill the music. Kill the music.
Beef of the week.
Look at it. I'm just going to ask you to play it again. All right. The term session refers to beers that have all the taste of a regular IPA, but with a lower ABV of this smells like a cut and paste. I don't know about you, but I'm going to take the assumption here. I'm taking the stance that William Esquire did not write this out. First off, there's proper punctuation. There's lots of commas, quotes, which make them suited to long, hot summer afternoons. So they have a lower ABV. Thank you, William Esquire.
So technically a session IPA would be a crushable IPA, if you will.
Yes. One for one would be perfect to enjoy during Hot Podcaster Summer.
You gotta...
Hot Podcaster Summer.
What StreamYard really needs to come out with is like a shortcut button to allow me to just play Hot Podcaster Summer whenever it gets said. But we'll work on that.
You should always have that at the ready.
Brian, we are now into Beef of the Week. So what's bothering you this week?
This Friday, I attended what was quite possibly one of the worst concerts I have attended in at least 10 to 15
Wait,
years.
You actually attended that? I thought you posted that on your Facebook page, ironically, as a joke.
Nope.
All right, well then please tell me.
Utilizing a website called Gold Star, where they offer discounted tickets to concerts, plays, other events around town. You can try it out for your local town. I'm sure they have a city page for Philadelphia. They advertised half-price tickets to go see the I Love the 90s tour, featuring the musical acts CNC Music Factory, Tone Loc, Rob Bass, and Vanilla Ice. Ice, ice, baby. Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. It was, in my opinion, one of the hottest messes known to mankind,
Okay.
because it was pointed out to me earlier by my roommate here in corporate housing. We went together. It was they pointed out to me that it was all acts pretty much who were one-hit wonders. So CNC Music Factory literally had two songs. They
Right.
had Things That Make You Go, Then they had what was their big
Gonna
hit?
Make You Sweat.
Gonna make you sweat. Then Rob Bass, It Takes Two. He also had Joy and Pain, which I had
That's
forgotten
true.
about.
That's true.
Okay. Tone Loc, Funky Cold Medina,
Right.
and Wild Thing.
Correct.
Vanilla Ice had Ice Ice Baby.
Well, don't forget the ninja rap from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, Ron, let me build up to that. Please let me build up to that.
My apologies.
Okay. So we walk in, and CNC Music Factory has just started. I would describe the crowd as light, not body weight size in terms of percentage attendance of capacity. I would say there was comfortably the age brackets were 40 and up.
Okay.
So CNC Music Factory comes on, and there's a lot of crowd work. A lot of people on the left say ho, people on the right say ho. I think the people on the left gotcha. Hold on, and they put out the mic. A lot of that work, and then he did a 9-minute version of "Gonna Make You Sweat."
Okay.
Then a DJ starts playing music in between CNC and the next music act, playing Madonna. I believe I heard Culture Club.
Okay.
And it was really odd watching a large African American male DJ who knew how to scratch. I mean, had good crowd work, playing Madonna, Material Girl. Just didn't fit the vibe. Then Tone Loc comes out. Now, if you could remember what happened, back in the to me, they're really 80s artists, not 90s.
Right.
Would you say that Tone Loc or Rob Bass was a bigger act?
I would say Tone Loc probably had more mainstream, more crossover appeal. Would be my
Tone
guess.
Loc comes out second. He does in his act Funky Cold Medina, Wild Thing, and then he does Gin and Juice, the famous song by Snoop Dogg.
Yes.
No relation, no link, no connection. Just out of nowhere, starts doing Gin and Juice. Then he leaves. Then the DJ plays more music. Then Rob Bass comes out. This man does about a 2-minute version of Joy and Pain, and does seemingly, I would say, he does a solid 20-minute set, of which at least 3/4 of it was just pure crowd hype work. All my people in the back say, yeah, who remembers the 90s? Yeah. I mean, it was just it was such a train wreck.
Right.
Then he gets off stage, and now we're ready for the headliner. We're ready for the headliner. Now, suddenly, Vanilla Ice comes out. He's got a drummer who is drumming, but you can't hear the drums in the music. So, clearly, they're not microphoned in.
Right.
He's got his DJ. He's got his own DJ, not using the house DJ for the night.
Of course not.
So he does a couple songs, and I believe probably about 6 minutes into his act, he comes out, and he's got somebody in a head to toe Ninja Turtle outfit going like this, going like that, pointing to the audience, dancing along to the Ninja rap song, which I had completely forgotten. I mean, just the fact of Vanilla Ice doing his set, he's like, yeah, how many of you people out there love the Ninja Turtles? They were from New York. I bet you don't remember that, but they were from New York. They were from right here in New York. Yeah, we're gonna go take it all the way back, ninja style. And I looked at him, I'm looking out at the crowd. I'm like, oh, ninja, please. That's not gonna happen. And then yes, a little dude comes out in a ninja costume and he starts, ooh, it was atrocious. The next song into the act was one of his guys on the stage brings out two inflatable, looks like barrels,
Okay.
with some screen typing on it, and finally I could read what it said, and it had the word "Joy Burst" on both of them. I'm like, I don't know what Joy Burst is. Then Vanilla Ice announces that he's feeling a little tired, but there's one thing that's really important to him, and that's drinking all natural energy products. So then he brings out another guy who starts singing. It goes into a rap song, which is an ad. The song he wrote for Joy Burst, which is Vanilla Ice's energy drink. So there's one guy on stage, literally holding up the barrels, the inflatable barrels
Right.
that say Joy Burst on it, and my lady and I literally sat there and were just like, we need to get out of here. This is atrocious. But I did have to look up what Joy Burst was, and Joy Burst is it's Vanilla Ice designed himself Joy Burst. Specifically Joy Burst Vanilla Ice, with the aromatic smell and savory taste of cotton candy and blueberries combined with the refreshing taste of chilled ice. You'll want to sing Vanilla Ice Baby after each sip. All our flavors are naturally caffeinated with green tea extract, providing energy that will have you dancing through the day. Joy Burst Vanilla Ice is a timeless classic for those no sugar, no crash moments. Grab yours while supplies last and get your Joy Burst. And that's when we walked out. We didn't even stay for Vanilla Ice Baby. We were just like, this has hit a low that we cannot expose ourselves to anymore.
So you'll get a kick out of this, Brian. So this Friday night I am attending the Phillies game here at Citizens Bank Park as they match up against the New York Metropolitans in a game which actually means something now. Phillies are only a half game out of the second wild card slot.
Yeah, but aren't they 11 and a half games out of first, so it doesn't really mean that much?
Well,
I mean, it means something to Philly, but
listen,
the Mets...
if they can make the playoffs, I mean, that's just, that's amazing. But,
of course,
what is happening at the end of the game, Ryan? Well, the
Vanilla
Phillies are going to throw it back with a special on-field performance for the I Love the 90s post-game concert featuring Vanilla Ice, Tone Loc, Rob Bass, and DJ Jazzy Jeff, presented by Jim Beam.
Oh my God, you need to stay for it.
Well, that was the plan. That was part of the reason we got the tickets. We were like, oh, this would be kind of fun. We'll go see I Love the 90s after the Phillies game.
Oh my God. Yeah, I literally need to speak to you while it's happening.
We will FaceTime during the concert.
Please. Oh my God, that's so good. That it was such a train wreck. And the only reason why I feel like it was such a train wreck was because they had to fill up like 2 hours of a show. They had to give the people entertainment value.
Right.
There had to be some time in between acts for people in the crowd to go get drinks. That's how the clubs pay. There has to be time for a changeover. But the actual acts did not have enough material to fill a show.
Oh,
so
without a doubt.
The amount of crowd work, the amount of hype, rather than just doing a set of music, was just shocking to me.
That's why, when I saw that there was an actual concert, I was shocked. Like, as a post-game concert, perfect. Because how long do you have to fill? 45 minutes to an hour after the baseball game? And you got 4 acts? Perfect. But to fill an entire concert with I love the 90s. Well, you encapsulated the evening perfectly,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think.
absolutely. Well, the show started, I think, around like 8:10 or so. I think it was probably, and then I think we left. It was about 10 to 10, which was wild.
Wild that you made it that long, to be honest.
But you want to know something? It was worth the $45 I
Oh, I'm
spent
sure.
for both
I'm
tickets.
sure.
Like, I have no regrets going. I have no regrets on the money spent. I've pissed away money in so many worse places than going to see the I Love the 90s tour. I think I spent more on on drinks than I did for the actual tickets.
Probably, more than likely.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
I
Listen, you got a kick out of it. You enjoyed it for all the wrong reasons, but you still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun when they're actually performing the songs you want to hear.
Yeah.
Like when Tone Loc is doing Wild Thing, like I found myself remembering like lyrics that I thought I had forgotten years ago.
You found your flow again.
Damn straight, Ron.
Yes.
Speaking of flow,
Yes.
what's bothering you?
So my beef this past week, Brian, was COVID. As I can now announce, last week I was in the early stages of COVID. I was a little stuffy last Sunday's show. Felt it was possibly my allergies because it felt like my allergies. And also, and this is kind of the interesting thing, Brian, tested negative with multiple home tests prior to going out and getting a PCR test.
Right.
So found out on Tuesday that I was positive for COVID. Thankfully, my symptoms were relatively mild, mostly stuffed up, dry throat, some fatigue, some body aches. What was interesting, two things were interesting. My skin hurt at times during the week. Like not my muscles, not my joints, my literal skin hurt. And then this brain fog that I got during the week was just like I'd be having a conversation and literally would forget the next sentence that I was going to say.
Really?
Yes. So that was interesting.
Shocked.
So I made it 2.5 years, finally got my first case of COVID.
Now, how do you? First off, congratulations! Welcome to the club. You have
Thank you.
2 more. You've got 2 more to catch up. I eagerly await the competition as to who will get COVID more,
Yes.
you or I. How do you think you caught it?
I'm not quite sure. I feel possibly going to that old timers game in New York City. That was the last large group of people that we were in, or maybe just at the grocery store. You never know.
You did take a car service both ways from
True.
New York to Philadelphia. Did you? Were you masked up during the car ride?
We were not. I know our driver on the way up was vaccinated, and the guy on the way down was masked up. But you never know. You never know. Maybe it was you. Maybe you had a 8th case of COVID that I was unaware of. You did spit in my mouth numerous times at the Yankees game. So
You kept asking me to.
I thought it was interesting, but who knows? So yeah, so I feel better. I will be going to get a follow-up test tomorrow just to make sure everything is clear, and we will go from there.
I was concerned with how you sounded a week ago.
In listening back to it, I didn't think I was as congested as I was, but in listening back to last week's podcast, I could see why you would have been concerned.
Yeah. Janelle brings up a good point. At any point, did you go to King of Prussia, maybe for a weightlifting competition?
I skipped my powerlifting meet. I heard those are a den of COVID, but very possibly, I drove through King of Prussia. Very possibly could have just clung to my car on the way going through.
How did you? I mean, did you get the antibody treatment?
I
know
did.
it seems
I
to be
did.
It's very popular nowadays when people get COVID that they run to the hospital to get a IV injection of antibodies. Did you go ahead and do that?
I did not. Since my symptoms were relatively mild, I said, you know what? Let me just tough this out. Let my God-given immune system and my vaccination and my boost just take care of it and knock it out of my system. And I feel that at this point it is done so. So I am not quite 100%. I put myself at like 93% at best right now, but still better than last week.
You at 93% is still 84% better than the average human being.
Very true. You bring up a good point. But let's put the COVID aside. Let's put my my amazing immune system aside. Let's get into the news for the week, Brian. Obviously, the biggest story this past week is FBI agents.
Anne Heche.
Oh, my apologies.
Star of movies such as Danny Brasco,
Donnie Brasco.
Donnie. I was just trying to see if you were paying attention.
All right.
It's the COVID fog. It's
6 days, 7 nights. Another one.
It's the polio fog. Also, she was also a star in Ellen DeGeneres' Bed for a couple of years.
True. Very true. Always forget to bring the banners down. See, it's that COVID brain. Just so yeah. Are you actually talking about Anne Heche now, or are you just?
Well, no, that's not the top. I would like to talk about it later on.
All right, we'll get there eventually. But yes, obviously FBI agents raiding Mar-a-Lago and pulling boxes of White House and government documents that apparently Donald Trump has been hanging on to for, I guess almost a year now. I guess over a year now, actually, would be the case.
Yeah.
And so come to find that apparently the FBI has been negotiating for a while now to try and get these boxes back. I think 15 boxes of White House records. Mm-hmm. And then a number of unclassified items. But we're finding as the days go on and the search warrant and the list of items retrieved has been released. I think the DOJ has been very transparent about this entire situation. And it has been interesting to watch the shift in narrative from even Fox News and a number of members of the GOP, where at first they were accusing President Biden of weaponizing the DOJ against a political opponent. Now,
are they not doing that anymore?
There's definitely been a shift. Senior GOP officials have apparently been advised to stop trashing the FBI in public. Fox News, there are a number of correspondents that are starting to say, like, this is a serious issue. These items, these classified documents, these top secret documents, it's becoming more and more likely that Donald Trump was, accepting money for access to these documents for people to come in and look at these things.
Whoa. Where did you hear that? I've not heard that whatsoever.
I've heard videos exist of, and again, not necessarily selling them to a foreign entity, but literally, in exchange for donations to the campaign, being like, hey, would you like to look at, nuclear documents from our country?
No, he wouldn't be that fucking stupid. Where
again,
are you hearing?
Yet to be proven. I've seen it in on some of the news shows, people saying that these are videos that the FBI has. They say they have videos of individuals that have handled the documents. Apparently, they will also be fingerprinting the documents to find out exactly who may have touched these documents. But
my God, that's so much worse than what I thought was happening. Because what I thought was just the case was that there were a series of documents that were quote unquote missing, according to the National Archives, that back, I believe in January, he turned over a set of 11 boxes back to the National Archives. And one of his lawyers signed a document stating that these were all of the materials that he had that would be considered government property, that there was no other government paperwork in his possession, that the FBI always was under the impression that there were additional documents, and that they continued to negotiate with Trump's representatives, and that recently there had been a complete breakdown of progress and talks. Now, to me, I don't know what kind of negotiations, like how many back and forths do you have to have? We think you have documents. I don't have documents. We think you have documents. Well, maybe I have documents. We think you have documents. Perhaps I have documents. We have how does that conversation go? But
Right.
apparently negotiations had completely broken down, and then they immediately last week uh, what's the word I'm thinking of? Went into Mar-a-Lago and served the warrant. Now, I think what everybody immediately has theorized, and it seems a solid argument, is that somebody who has been inside Mar-a-Lago, who has an understanding of where these documents were located on the property, who understood what types of documents they were talking about, were gave that piece of information to the Department of Justice. We know for a fact that many people inside of his inner circle, like his children, his campaign representative, and whatnot, have been subpoenaed, who have been who have been deposed in by government lawyers. Obviously, those communications are not public yet. We don't know what information, who gave what or whatnot, but that this would never have happened had someone not stepped forward and said, yes, there is absolutely top secret documents. Yes, there's absolutely classified documents. They are of this type. They are. This is how they're being handled and whatnot. And because of the urgency of the type of, not urgency, because of the nature of those documents, that the FBI and the Department of Justice immediately just said, okay, this is something we need to step in immediately and do. This is not something we can go back and start a new round of negotiations with. So that was the indicator that it had to have been something serious. I am shocked to hear this, and I don't mean like frivolously shocked, but genuinely shocked that he is taking campaign donations in exchange for showing people classified documents.
And to your point, former Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney said it was probably someone very close to the president providing that information, especially since, they were able to locate the exact location of the boxes at Mar-a-Lago, and they were also able to locate a safe at Mar-a-Lago, also containing documents that apparently very few individuals actually even knew existed at that location. So
Right.
clearly, someone very close to Donald flipped on this.
Ooh, and it's also such a mind fuck, because that someone's telling him he's going to ask the question to somebody, how did this happen?
Right.
And the obvious answer is, well, someone who knew the inner workings of where Mar-a-Lago has its closets and whatnot. And I read an article earlier this week that it even got to the point in terms of negotiations as to the government was telling Trump's representatives of the types of locks that needed to be used for the rooms that he was storing these boxes in.
Yeah, and obviously Trump has gone on the defense by saying it was a witch hunt, saying that the evidence was planted, but if it wasn't planted, he declassified the documents. So just really throwing a number of layers of bullshit out there to see which will stick with his base.
What I found, not to cut you up, but the other thing before I forget, because I also still have brain fog, was that he issued a statement on his Truth Social website, where there's actually very little truth, that Obama somehow, he claimed, took 33 million documents that were government property. And then he also posted, I think this was earlier today, again on Truth Social, that he was respectfully requesting that the government return all the documents that they had taken from his house.
And when after he made that comment about Obama, the National Archives made the rare press release stating that all of the documents that President Obama that was referred to were declassified and in the control of the National Archives, that Obama does not have control or access to any of those documents. So making the again, the National Archives is a bipartisan institution, rare for them to make any type of comment, much less a comment contradicting a former president. I mean, the entire thing for this to have happened to a former president. The level of, considering that it was a federal judge appointed by Trump, it was an FBI director appointed by Trump, the legal hurdles that had to be met, you would imagine, to get the approval for a warrant and search like this. You would think there would have had, pretty airtight evidence prior to moving forward on this.
Oh, I'm sure. Let's see how this thing plays out. I mean, I'm sure that it will have no effect on the larger society as a whole.
No one will react insanely by it. Trump was nice enough to send the unredacted search warrant with the names of the FBI agents to Breitbart, who of course posted it with the FBI agents' names. So they are now receiving death threats. A gentleman by the name of Ricky Schiffer, who of course was present in the Capitol on January 6th, was shot dead by police after he attempted to storm Cincinnati's FBI office and then fled, leading to a hours-long standoff.
I mean, this was the day after.
Correct.
He posted an account with the name Ricky Schiffer. Schiffer. Hold on a second, Ron. I'm gonna go. I'm heading over to the Schiffer. Gonna take a dump. Hey now. He posted that it was time to let the push. It's time for us to take up arms and to stop letting the government push us around and take away our liberties. If nobody heard from him again on social media, it was because the government got to him.
Well, the government did.
And then he decided that he was going to try to break into an FBI building that was completely open. It's not like he tried to sneak in at 2 a.m.
Right.
No, this guy just tried to walk in. It was rough.
So again, he had an hours-long standoff. He attempted to raise a gun towards officers around 3 o'clock that afternoon, and that did not end well for him as he was shot and killed.
I'm sure that this was an individual act of a lone man. I'm sure that there's no other acts that took place this week of people upset at the government.
Well, we'll see. We're not exactly sure what this next individual's motivations were, but a man drove a vehicle into a barricade near the U.S. Capitol early this morning and opened fire in the street before fatally turning the gun on himself as his car burst into flames. The gentleman, identified as Richard York III from Delaware, again rammed his car into a barricade. The car, quote, became engulfed in flames, and when the driver got out, he subsequently fired several shots in the air, and then as Capitol Police started to approach him, he fatally shot himself.
This sounds like suicide by cop.
I mean, well, it's suicide by himself because he never even allowed himself to get shot by a cop.
Oh, he shot himself?
He shot himself, yes.
Wouldn't it just been easier for him to kill himself?
I mean, you kind of go out in a blaze of glory, as it will.
4 a.m. and it's not a blaze of glory. I mean, literally, his car was on fire. So yeah, I guess the blaze of glory. But I mean, he's accomplished nothing. This guy Ricky Schiffer accomplished nothing. They just killed themselves in an act of anti-government sentiment that accomplishes nothing.
Well, it's just what also amazes me is people willing to give their lives for an individual that, at the end of the day, doesn't care about anyone other than himself.
No, I mean the number of the January 6th protesters who were on social media afterwards, speaking directly to Donald Trump, asking for pardons, asking for him to pronounce them to be patriots, and he did none of that.
Right.
At the end of the day, you do not see Donald Trump interacting, with these people, his own supporters. He likes to keep them at a far distance and likes to be seen with dictators.
Well, and again, if you are not making a major donation to him or his campaign, you don't get a pardon.
Well, now he has no campaign, so he's just raising money for the sake of it.
I mean, this would, one thing you can say, the Espionage Act, the violation of it would disqualify him from ever holding political office again, should he be convicted of it.
But do you think they have the balls to do it? I don't.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, again, I don't think you can perform a raid like this without following it up with some sort of criminal charges.
The man is Teflon. That if you look at what this man has done in the past, we'll call it 6 years,
Right.
1 year leading up to the election, the 4 years of his term, and now the 1 year after the end of his administration. If you look what this man has done in the past 6 years and has skipped away with absolutely no real retribution for his actions, if I were him, I would also be of the mindset that nothing will ever stick to me.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, again, it will be surprising to see if it does play out that way. But at the very least, you think that they have to attempt to bring criminal charges against him if they went to this level.
And the problem with that, and this is where the barrier to success here is that if they do bring charges against him, it has to be an airtight case,
Without a doubt.
because if you lose
Oh,
in court, you are guaranteeing this man is going to be the next president of the United States.
without a doubt.
You're guaranteeing that the institution of our government will be irrevocably damaged.
Right.
That if you try a former president on criminal charges and are found in it, and he's found innocent, that you are handing him and his supporters and people on future corrupt politicians to sit there and say that that politicians are above the law, and any attack on a politician, verbal, of course, not physical. I'm not talking Salman Rushdie yet. That any action taken against a politician is now just a partisan act, and it's not rooted in reality or fact.
Well, I mean, you would hope that the DOJ, AG Garland, understood the potential ramifications of this, and again, that's why you hope they were 100% certain of what they would be able to do with this moving forward.
Sure.
So, we shall see. You mentioned Salman Rushdie, probably one of the few people having a worse week than Donald Trump, as he was attacked by a knife-wielding attacker in an upstate New York event that he was speaking at on Friday. Now, apparently, he's currently on a ventilator, likely going to lose one of his eyes. Nerve in his arm were severed. His liver was stabbed and damaged. But apparently he is going to survive.
I heard today he was taken off the ventilator.
All right, good. So Salman Rushdie, as some of you may or may not remember, wrote the Satanic Verses back in, God, when was that? Late 90s?
I was going to say 1996, I thought it was. He was also the star of Curb Your Enthusiasm, season 10.
Was he?
Yeah, you don't remember that? Oh, yeah, you don't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Sorry, I don't watch Curb. My apologies.
There was one whole season where Larry David had upset a religious figure, and they issued a fatwa against him.
Ah,
So the whole season was about how he was in hiding, wearing ridiculous, costumes to try to hide his identity. He was staying in a hotel. And then Salman Rushdie was in, I think, 2 episodes.
Okay.
1988.
Ali M letting us know it was written in 1988. And again, yes, a fatwa was issued back then, which apparently this gentleman by the name of Hadi Matar, who we have a photo of him here appearing in court. He apparently is the assailant, 24 years old, from Fairfield, New Jersey. Again, you always got to watch those New Jersey people. He was arrested at the scene by a state trooper that had been assigned to provide protection to Salman Rushdie.
Oh my God, that was my cab driver last Thursday.
Oh, jeez. His mom now kind of disowning him, saying her son was a basement-dwelling loner who barely worked, never had a girlfriend, and apparently changed after visiting the Mideast last year. She said that she will never talk to him again, and that, quote, he's responsible for his actions. Ooh, mom throwing the kid under the bus.
Do you think he's guilty? Do you think they got the right guy?
I mean, I guess if you catch someone in the act of doing it, odds are you're probably guilty.
Listen, I don't know how trustworthy these organizations are, but there are groups out there in the Middle East that have stated that they themselves will pay over $3 million for Salman Rushdie's death.
I believe it's up to 3.3 million, the fatwa.
Yeah, but if you take the lump sum payment and then the government takes their cut, you're looking at probably 800-900 grand.
Valid point.
You know, do you think the IRS takes a cut of a fatwa money?
I guess it depends what country you're a native of, but I would imagine.
He's from Jersey.
No, this guy is
Yeah.
from New Jersey. I'm saying, like, depending on if someone else had come from overseas to kill him. But yeah, I would think, listen, the government's going to try, well, the government's going to try and get their taxes from the average American any way they can.
Sure.
The top 1%, they're not going to go after. These 87,000 FBI agents that are going to be hired based on this new legislation that the Democrats just passed, they're all coming after individuals like you and me. They want to collect that taxes on that Patreon money that you and I make.
Sons of bitches. Speaking of Patreon, Ron, why don't you tell us people what we have as a Patreon as I go get another beer.
All right. Well, as always, every Sunday night at 9:30, we do Ron and Brian After Dark. They're the stories that are a little too sexy, a little too sassy, except for last week. Last week's episode was pretty dark, so we're going to try and get back to the sexy stories this week. If you are not currently a Patreon subscriber, all you need to do is go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little link to become a patron, and you click on that. You join at the bronze level or higher. That is $10 a month or higher, and you get access to the live feed that happens at 9:30. If you come in at the $5 level, you just get the recording afterwards. But we're going to have a great show. It's going to start in about 44 minutes. So if you get onto Patreon and you join us, we'll be able to get to the link and you can join us later on. One person who unfortunately will not be joining the Patreon tonight, Brian, Anne Heche, who may or may not have passed away by now. There's still, I know she was going to be taken off of life support today, but still not certain if that has happened or if she has actually passed away yet.
Ron,
Yes.
when does life end?
I mean, I would say it's when you get married. Oh, you're talking about actual end of life is what you're saying.
Yes, because I was thoroughly confused this week as to whether Anne Heche was dead or alive. And I'm not talking about the 1980s bands who were featured on the I Love the 80s tour. Remember that song, You Spin Me Right?
I do remember, yes.
Baby, right round.
Your microphone cut out.
God damn it. So there was a story this week. Anne Heche, I'm sure everybody knows what's going on with her. Slammed her car, may or may not allegedly have had cocaine in her system. I mean, I don't believe everything I read in the newspapers. But apparently she slammed her car into a building. Car engulfs in flames. Took an hour for firefighters to put the flame out. Basically, went into the hospital in a coma. There were news reports throughout the week that she was dead. Who was the person recently that died that William Esquire and Janelle kept promoting that they were? Oh, the Leave It to Beaver guy.
Tony Dow.
Dow Jones?
Tony Dow.
Tony Jones?
Just keep talking about Anne Heche.
Okay. So, is there a T? I thought it was Anne Heche.
Anne Heche. That's it, Anne Heche.
No, but you're saying Heche.
Heche.
Like with a T, like you did something.
I'm just over pronunciating is what I'm doing.
Is that COVID fog?
It might be.
Yeah, I think so. So on Friday morning, I woke up. I looked. First thing I always do, as soon as I wake up, I grab my phone and I immediately look to see what's going on in the world. Did any of the people I had in my Deadpool for 2022. Kick the bucket. Daddy needs some points. Daddy's got no points. And I saw a story. Anne Heche, not expected to survive. And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't realize she was actually going to be that bad in terms of recovering from this car crash. And then later on in the day, Anne Heche, pronounced dead in California where she lived.
Right.
That loved ones were already pouring out, heaven has gained an angel, earth has lost a hero. And now the end is near. And so we raise the final curtain. Anywho, so then today I'm like, oh wow, okay. So at the time I was like, Anne Heche died. Very sorry. So then today I'm reading an article in I think it was the Washington Post. I could be wrong.
Okay.
It said that Anne Heche was going to be taken off life support today because they found a donor for some of her vital organs.
Correct.
That she had declared herself that she wanted to be an organ donor. I hope you are an organ donor. Are you?
I am not. No.
I am absolutely not. I am still of the mindset when I read that that urban legend that if you are listed, if you have on your driver's license or state ID issued by your local motor vehicle department, that if you have organ donor check, the paramedics will immediately look at the card, and if you are an organ donor, they will let you die, as opposed to giving you medical need to keep you alive.
I thoroughly believe that.
Perfect. That's true. So they announced they had found a recipient for some of her organs, and that they were going to turn off life support. However, in California, once you are here, we go because William Esquire cannot allow me to state a fact. He's got to beat me to it. We'll just use William Esquire's words. California law states that if you're brain dead, you can officially be declared as dead. So she was declared on Friday brain dead, but her body was still alive. Heart was pumping, limbs were warm, whatnot, which led me to first off, rest in peace, Anne Heche, or as I will be stating on social media tomorrow, rest in power, Anne Heche. We don't do rest in peace. We say rest in power.
Rest in power, yes.
On Facebook, rest in power. But everyone's been talking over the past couple of weeks about when life starts. What is the conception of life? Is it when the sperm fertilizes the egg? Is it birth? Is it when the fetus, I almost said embryo, when the fetus has reached the point of maturation where it can exist on its own and not only through the umbilical cord? However, nobody's talking about when does life end?
You're asking the real questions now, Brian.
Ron, when does life end?
I mean, I think when your brain is dead, I think that's a fairly good cutoff point.
So you're saying that people who are in long-term comas for 10, 15 years, they're dead?
I think an argument could be made. I mean, what kind of life is that at that point?
I don't. No. Now you're talking quality of life. I'm talking about actual life.
Again, I think if you have no registrable brain activity, I think you could make the argument that someone is dead at that point, regardless as if the body wants to keep on living. I think if the brain activity is minimal or gone, I think you have to question whether that person is actually alive or not.
Really? See, I would say that life is over when you cannot live off of a machine, when you cannot live without the help of when you're not being kept alive by machines.
I would say that's also a good bellwether.
I think if I can kick you down a flight of stairs, if you're not breathing at the end of it, that's when life ends.
We'll have to test that theory out.
Do you know any old people that we could that would volunteer? Like, can we swing by a nursing home and just borrow some old people and test that theory out. Like
I'm
I'll
sure
get one.
there are some people that are willing to leave this ethereal plane, Brian, and go to the next point.
Do you think we have to pay them, or do you think they pay us? How does that work?
I mean, I think we ask if they would subscribe to the Patreon, and then they can just, we'll let that roll until
Lifetime members.
until someone remembers to cut off that credit card.
I like your thinking. Or what if they give us the credit card number of their children and we use that credit card?
Also good. Also good. I think that is also an acceptable solution.
Do you think that we should add a level on our Patreon where if somebody puts, say, $50,000 as a one-time payment, that they become lifetime members of the Patreon?
I think that's more than fair. Do you
I
think
think that's
50 is
fair.
enough? Do you think 50 is enough, or should it be 100?
You know what? I think 100.
All right.
I think
we will
100,000.
we will set that tier up. That will be the infinity tier. I think we call it.
Ooh.
So if you
I love it.
pledge
Right, I think.
at the infinity tier $100,000, you get the lifetime access to Ron and Brian After Dark. You get the hoodie and the coffee mug. We'll even throw in some new stickers and a shot glass. I think that sounds
And
fair.
I believe you get you should also get a shout out.
You get a shout out, and maybe and Brian will slow jam your eulogy.
Yes. And also one other thing, you actually, and this one, I think we haven't run this by each other yet, but I think this is fair.
Okay.
You, as if you join the Patreon at an infinity level, the fact that you're not running the banner at the bottom of the screen, criminal, Ron. It's criminal.
My apologies.
The very fact that if you come in at the infinity level, you also get a one-on-one. Can you beat Ron?
Ooh, all right. I'm down for it.
One-on-one.
Without
No
a
William
doubt.
Esquire, no Janelle. It is you at your infinity tier. You go up against Ron. $100,000. I think that's a steal.
It's a bargain.
And I will show you if you come in. Also, I'm going to throw this in there. I'm going to give you the Mar-a-Lago treatment for $100,000. If you come in as at the infinity level, I will show you my classified documents. I will show you not my tax returns because they're so confusing,
Complicated.
that the average person wouldn't understand them. So you don't get to see my tax returns. I'll show you my birth certificate. You can take a look at my passport. I'll show you the results of my most recent colonoscopy. Prostate exam. You can actually give me your own prostate exam if you want.
Now you're spoiling people. I think
I will lay down.
People.
I will lay down on the table on my side. I will bring my knees up to my chest. You will be allowed. You do have to put on a rubber glove because monkeypox, right? Monkeypox is still out there. And after properly lubing up your two fingers and inserting them inside my rectum, you can feel around to see how my prostate is doing. For $100,000 at the infinity level, I believe that is the ultimate perk, as we like to call it in the biz.
Without a doubt. Brian, more tragic passings to talk about this week. A South Carolina woman was killed this week after she was impaled in the chest by a beach umbrella that had blown away in a gust of wind.
Rest in power, Queen. Rest in power, Queen.
Tammy Peralt, age 63, was at a Garden City beach when the umbrella broke loose from its anchor, struck her around 12:40 p.m. From witnesses, they say it went, the tip, I guess the top part of it, or maybe the post, I'm not 100% sure, went through her arm and jutted itself into her rib cage. And she bled out in 30 to 40 seconds, people say.
So she got the tip?
She got more than just the tip, apparently. Local medical professionals and Good Samaritans provided first aid, but she died an hour later from her chest trauma.
It's a real shame because she died without ever being given the opportunity to join up for our Patreon at the infinity level. We had just recently exchanged some messages about a week ago where she had said to me, hey, boo, I'm at the beach. My husband just went into the water, so I'm reaching out to you. I noticed that you guys had a Patreon for the podcast, and I was thinking about joining. The bronze and the aluminum level pittances. I'm not showing proper support. I see something called the diamond level, but I don't believe that that's accurately showing my love for the Ron and Brian podcast. How more can I support the show? And just as we were typing in fee, she died. Impalement. First off, I'm just going to say this. I just think, and I'm not trying to, I realize right now I may be cutting off all the residents of the Carolinas from their Patreon membership. But Jesus, I think of the Carolinas and all I can think of is just trash. Just garbage trash. Like, I just think of like people like chewing tobacco, absolutely Trump supporters, but thinking that they're not like the racist Trump supporters, but they really are. But they just think that they're not as bad. What else? What am I thinking of when I think of the Carolinas? Shitty barbecue. Like, isn't their barbecue all like vinegar based?
And they do a lot of vinegar based sauces down there.
Yeah,
yes.
vinegar. Yeah, you can't do a vinegar based. That's disgusting. Here's another one from the Carolinas: boiled peanuts. Somebody can explain to me that phenomenon, how someone could sit there and take a roasted peanut that has already been cooked and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to soak this thing in boiling water. So it's just a paste. Oh, disgusting.
Well, Brian, that wasn't the worst death we read about this week. Just sneaking in under the wire before we went to do the show tonight. A Pennsylvania teenager died this week after getting pulled into a wood chipper while working. Isaiah Badox, age 17, was helping with a tree removal job when his clothing got caught in the wood chipper and he was pulled through the machine. He was transported by a helicopter to Lehigh Valley Hospital with multiple traumatic injuries, where he was pronounced dead about an hour and a half after that.
If you went through a wood chipper, what was left to be brought to the hospital?
I mean, I guess maybe there were still chunks of him available. I'm not quite sure.
Like, I guess his arm went in first, or his leg?
You would think, like, if it was a piece of clothing, you would think it caught like a sleeve or something like that. But that's a horrible way to go.
I think so. I would put that up there as one of the 10 worst ways. Almost as bad as falling into a vat of porridge.
The vat of porridge death is one of that one's still the worst, I think.
The only thing that made the vat of porridge from last week we talked was that there's video of it. Like, I feel like if you die a horrible death that's worthy of you and I talking about it, at the very least, give the world a video of your death. We should be able right now to watch this woman sip down a Tito's and iced tea on the beach with her. I'm assuming she had fake blonde hair. I'm assuming that she was wearing a one piece.
I mean, you're not wrong so far.
I'm assuming that she had a daughter at least 22 years old. And like we should watch the video of that umbrella going like turning upside right.
I wish we had video of that, but we don't, my friend.
We should be watching what was his name again? Isikoff? Isaiah. We should watch Isaiah literally pushing a tree stump through a wood chipper, watching it get caught, being like, that's okay. I'm just going to stomp on it with my foot and push the tree remnants as his foot gets caught and just turned into that wood chipper. Do you think it was like a shredder do you think it was cross-sectional? Do you think it was a wood chipper that just did strips?
I mean, they were doing trees, so I think it was probably a cross-sectional wood chipper.
Do you think they reuse that machine after they give it a good cleaning, or do you think
you hose it out and then you just turn it back on again? Is my guess.
You think that there's like a little piece of Isaiah that's stuck in the machine that doesn't come out in the cleaning, and then like a week or so later, when they plug the machine back in to use it again, and it starts grinding up again, that it just shoots out like a toe that nobody thought was still on there. And it's a little petrified. It's a little dried up, but like
It's very possible. It's very possible.
I would be a little uncomfortable being the team that got assigned that machine at the week after.
Yeah, I would request a different wood chipper.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, these are hazards I wouldn't worry about with my job.
No, you don't have to worry about a wood chipper in an office.
That's why I also don't go to the beach, because I don't want an umbrella that goes right through me.
There you go. Another good reason to stay out of the sun. One follow-up story here. We have often spoken about Grease actor Eddie Deezen and the various trouble he's gotten himself into. So apparently he has recently been found unable to stand trial because of an unspecified mental disorder. He was arrested in April after allegedly burglarizing a nursing home, but he will not stand trial for that. Instead, apparently he will be placed in a mental health facility and treated, and then I guess after that maybe he can be charged. I don't know.
Free Eddie Deezen.
I know you were a fan. You and Eddie go way back on the con circuit, so I understand. I understand your defense of him.
He did nothing wrong. That's all I'm gonna say. He did nothing wrong.
Well, he did burglarize a nursing home, which technically
he was visiting a family member and had those meddlesome kids not gotten involved with their dog. He would have gotten away with it.
Speaking of Grease, Olivia Newton-John passed away this week at the age of 73 after battling cancer for a number of years. Brian, you were a huge Xanadu fan, if I remember.
I was. Why?
Well, I would think this would be rather tragic for you then, for her passing.
Xanadu, Xanadu.
I don't even think you're coming close to what the song was. But that's
Gene
right.
Kelly was in that movie. One of the guys from the Warriors, if I remember, ELO had a couple songs in the soundtrack. Yeah, I love that movie. I saw that movie in the theaters when it came out. I remember my family and I bought the soundtrack. My mom had it on vinyl records, and we would listen to it.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up here this week?
No, I think you were joking. I think you were joking that I like Xanadu, and now you're realizing, holy fuck, he really did like Xanadu. What's wrong with this guy? Like, holy Christ, you knew Gene Kelly was in it.
I threw it out there as a joke, and then you literally became the human IMDb page for Xanadu. And and this is why I love you so much. When you feel that you have peeled back all the layers of the Brian Onion, that would have been a perfect question for the Who Knows Brian Better during the last Can You Beat Ron, because I guarantee you no one would have said Brian went to see Xanadu in the theaters when it came out.
Yeah, no, I love that movie. I remember he was working at a record store, and somebody had drawn her and her friends, and they were supposedly like muses from the heavens, and then they all came to life, and they roller skated quite a bit in that movie. And I remember he was supposed to be a little rock and roll, and she was like sweet. And then I have no idea who Gene Kelly was. I haven't seen that movie in years. But I remember he did a couple song and dance numbers in that.
Well, you have, as always, you never fail to amaze me.
Thank you much.
Well,
I'm going to say this: I never thought you were going to get COVID.
Listen, I was on a run. I didn't think I was going to get it either, but go figure. So again, I think we've done another great show here.
True 19. We are in the bag.
I think we are prepping for an awesome After Dark coming up in just about 21 minutes.
We missed one bit that I want to get to because I actually have something to talk about.
Okay.
Ron, what are you watching?
What am I watching? So I watched the new movie Prey on Hulu, the latest chapter in the Predator series.
I thought that was only in theaters.
No, it's available on Hulu. Not bad. I watched Blackbird on Apple TV. Highly recommend it. I watched I Just Killed My Dad, a new 3-series docuseries.
How is that?
Not bad. I think they could have cranked it out in an hour and a half. It's a little slow, but worth the watch. And just started watching another series on Apple TV called Invasion, about an alien invasion of Earth. So I'm about 4 episodes into that. Kind of slow, but worth sticking with. Brian, what are you watching?
I watched a movie from the strong powerhouse that is Ron and Brian. And when I say Ron and Brian, I mean Ron Howard and Brian Glazer. Imagine Entertainment, a movie on Amazon Prime, 13 Lives. Watched it yesterday. It tells the story of a youth soccer team in Thailand. The story took place probably about 5 years ago.
Right.
They went into a cave network. One day during the afternoon, it started to rain while they were in the cave. And before they realized it, they had gotten so deep into the cave network that their path to the entrance had been flooded and they could not walk through it. They were trapped for almost 20 days and required international aid to rescue them. All 13 boys, hence the name 13 Lives, were saved. It's a very powerful story. It's a 2.5 hour movie. Could have shaved probably a half an hour off of it. But Colin Farrell is in it. Viggo Mortensen is in it. Gene Kelly is in it. Very strange how he, breaks out into a song and dance number.
Yeah,
while Colin Farrell is underwater rescuing the boys. But I thought that was quite entertaining. And then today I watched what was not a very good movie, 222, which I believe was on Netflix. Could have been Hulu, might have been Netflix. All about, a guy in New York who starts seeing coincidences and basically starts following the thread of them. I would not recommend it, but I absolutely recommend 13 Lives. Also, yes, William Esquire is correct. Eddie Deezen does play one of the Thai boys who is stuck in the cave.
Wow, that is range.
To me, I thought it was his finest acting job ever.
All right. Anything else before we cut on out of here this week and get ready for After Dark?
I have to go prepare right now.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We will catch you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com.